Hi, my name is Paul Mander and I'm head of the employment team at Pennington's Manches Cooper. This is one or two short videos, and the two videos address the wind down and the ultimate closure of the furlough scheme, which was announced by Rishi Sunak in his speech on Friday the 29th of May. We've got 8.5 million people furloughed in the country, and about 2/3 of businesses have taken advantage of it. So it's a subject which is pretty high up the agenda for employment lawyers like myself, for HR professionals, and for business more generally, as all employers, or a large number of employers, are going to be affected by it in one way or another. The announcement throws up a number of questions which I'll deal with. The first is furlough more flexible now? And the answer to that is yes, it is. One of the issues with furlough when it was initially introduced was it was an all or nothing scheme. So if you're on furlough, you can do no work whatsoever. And that caused certain problems where there was a diminution in work, but not necessarily a total cessation of work. So people may have been needed for certain things, but they couldn't be used if they were on furlough. That has now been expressly permitted from the 1st of July, as long as there's an agreement in writing that sets out what's going to happen in each week, so which days are going to be worked and which days are going to be furloughed, which will be a great help to a number of employers. The big question, which was on everybody's lips before the announcement, was do I as an employer have to pay? Because at present the scheme is one which is almost totally reimbursed by government. There are some anomalies around holiday pay and things, but essentially it's a fully paid for scheme by government, and that is going to change. So in August, employers are going to be liable to pay employer NIC and pension contributions. In September, the 80%, which is currently being paid, will be reduced to 70%, and 10% will then have to be topped up by the employer. And in October, that will reduce further to 60%, with the employer taking up the extra 20%, again, in addition to the national insurance contributions, employer national insurance contributions and pension contributions, which they will also have to pay from August. When does the scheme close? It's a multifaceted question. The last payments under the scheme will be made at the end of October, but the last entrance to the scheme will be the 30th of June, which actually means that if you're going to put somebody on furlough, because of the 3 weeks of furlough payments that are made, they're made in tranches of 3 weeks, you're going to have to put them on furlough by the 10th of June. So that deadline is a lot shorter than it may initially have appeared. Will there be any more detail? There will be, and the 12th of June is the date which the Chancellor said there would be more information available. So I'm expecting some more written information from HMRC or the Treasury Department around the changes that I've outlined above. And that leads on to the final question, which is what next, really? The changes of the scheme are a lot less onerous than was perhaps predicted in the press. There were various different reports in the press, but one of the main ones was predicting a 20% contribution from employers from day one, effectively from the end of the month, for example, and that obviously hasn't happened. I do wonder whether those reports were due to some judicious leakage by government managing expectations of business, because what's actually come in is a more gradual withdrawal of that scheme. But even a gradual withdrawal is going to have a serious impact on employers across the country. There's no doubt that a lot of employers can't afford to pay, even if that payment is only a contribution to staff salaries. Redundancies have been spoken about, but in my next video, in part 2 of this series, I'll talk about some of the potential alternatives to redundancy that employers can consider. In the meantime, please feel free to look at our coronavirus hub on the Pennington's Manches Cooper website. It's good, there's a lot of information on it for businesses generally, not just around furlough, but all of the various different issues which have been thrown up by the coronavirus pandemic. And until my next video, that's it from me. So goodbye.